Welcome to the Ordinarily Elite podcast. We exist to help ordinary men become elite in every area of their lives. My name is Jeff Sterlin. I'm the host of this podcast. And on this very first episode of Ordinarily Elite, we're going to be talking about the death of average. Why ordinary men must become elite in 2025. Most men today are comfortable, distracted, and quietly dying inside. And this is not from a lack of opportunity, but a lack of purpose in their lives. Men today are apathetic, we're overweight, we are distracted with our cell phones and social media and technology in general. We don't really perform well. We aren't disciplined. We sleep in past our alarms. We stay up too late scrolling on our phones. This is common for young men in America. Although we were born ordinary in status, we must become elite in our actions, in our discipline. Why will most men never reach their potential in this life? Well, this is really simple. They lack consistent and disciplined action towards a clear and obtainable objective and outcome. It's that simple. Most men are busybodies. Most men are not doing things that are actually moving the needle in their lives. They're very consistently working hard and working long hours and feeling like they're on a treadmill in a hamster wheel because they don't have a clear objective of where they're going in their life. And I've experienced this. This is very common among young men. And Ordinarily Elite is aiming to help men actually put forth the principles and parameters in their life to live disciplined, to actually move the needle, to figure out what targets we actually need to hit in order to change our lives and improve them and become more like Christ, more like God, and to live a more holy and righteous life, but also to perform at a higher level, to become more elite. I have seen in my own life the number one thing that will prevent me from actually reaching a goal is lack of consistency and discipline. Discipline being doing things even when you don't feel like doing them. Consistency being not treating everything like a sprint, but a marathon. Small steps every day. These are the things that move the needles in our lives, and this is what it means to be ordinarily elite. In all of this, there's a really big problem that we need to address, and this problem is the age of comfort that we live in. We don't do hard things anymore. Our lives are filled with luxury in America, in the West. We have electricity, running water, cheap energy, abundant food, resources at our fingertips. We can move around the planet at thousands of miles an hour via airplane. We regularly move 50 to 75 miles per hour, which has only been heard of in the past 100 years. Not even, really. Why are men not striving anymore to grow regularly and improve their lives? One of the big things we often see is men, they will live their lives and it's almost like they're in a drunken slumber or stupor. They have no ambition, they have no passion, they have no drive to actually grow and improve. They don't want to learn more things. They don't want to humble themselves and repent of their sins and change. They don't want to change. That's the big thing. Well, we deal with it from outside, we deal with it from inside. One of the big reasons that men don't want to step outside of their comfort zone is we have a cultural decay of our standards of what it means to be a man of virtue and integrity. These standards that are imposed from the outside to us, from the culture around us, they were set forth for physical, mental, spiritual, emotional things, all sorts of standards. They were set forth to encourage and strengthen men. Holding men to a higher standard is not a new idea. Throughout human history, men have held themselves to high standards mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. They had to be self-contained, self-possessed, self-controlled in what they did. There was no emotional outbursts. There was no ability to physically lash out in anger. Men who are strong, men who are elite, they are also meek. They are strong and they control their strength. They know when to use their strength and they know when to restrain it. And we don't have those kind of standards anymore. So men are, rather than striving and trying to grow stronger, they're staying complacent. Another issue we see in the modern day of masculinity is men lack a tribe. We don't have friends. more than ever, men do not have friends. We don't actually go out and make friends. We don't maintain relationships. We lack that sense of community. And even us men who go to church regularly, we have friends at church or acquaintances, and that's great. But what I'm speaking of here is a tribe of men who push you and challenge you and are constantly in your life trying to make you grow and not letting you sit around and get complacent. We lack this, and this is a really important factor about what it means to be a masculine man and to be ordinarily elite. Ordinarily elite men, they have a tribe, and we need to get back to that as a whole in society. Another problem in the age of comfort that makes men not strive for excellence is convenience and distraction. Fast food, fast porn, fast gratification in every area. We have videos streaming immediately. We have cell phones with every ounce of information right at our fingertips. We don't ever have to open a book and dig through the pages to figure out information anymore. We just have this little magical box in our pocket that tells us everything we need to know. We have convenience and we have distraction. The dopamine hits are real. The level of dopamine sucks in this modern era for men is unbelievable. Pornography, social media, sugar, coffee, nicotine, these substances that we use, they're giving us dopamine hits, and we are addicted to dopamine on a large scale. But this technology and cheap dopamine has really just sapped our masculine systems of vitality. They have made us less able to truly perform at a high level. Another reason men are not striving to grow and improve is they have a finite and short-term mindset. They're not thinking about life in the infinite. They're not thinking about the big picture. These men are really focused on here and now, what's right under their nose. They're not thinking about how their actions are going to affect their offspring and the world around them in 100 years and 200 years. And the men who have been elite throughout all of history, they've always thought about something bigger than themselves. They've always worked to have an impact and influence beyond their own corner of the world. That's it. We're fat, we're distracted, and we're lazy. The result we receive from having overfed, overstimulated, and undisciplined men is that men no longer strive for greatness in their lives. They are complacent, they are apathetic, and this needs to change now. So now we're going to dive into what the elite mindset is and how Ordinarily Elite is trying and looking to actually systematize a way to help men really begin to regain the art of discipline and masculine virtue in their lives. We need to start by reframing the word elite. There are some of you who, when you saw this podcast, when you saw our platform, it gave you a little bit of the ick because you heard the word elite. Now, we know the connotations with elite. We think about the all-powerful, ultra-wealthy, ultra-rich, ultra-famous who pull the strings and control our lives and hate the ordinary man. What we're talking about is creating a modern-day aristocracy of well-dressed, well-educated, well-fit, and wealthy young and old men who have families, who are creating offspring and building institutions above themselves for the glory of God and for the better of society as a whole. The elite man is defined by his discipline, not his status, not his wealth, and not where he comes from. I created Ordinarily Elite because I believe that ordinary men can live elite lives through intentional action and disciplined focus. And we're going to now break down the 5 pillars of the elite mindset. And these are the principles we're going to set forth and build off of in future episodes. Number 1 is responsibility. Everything in your life is under your ownership and jurisdiction. No excuses to be made. No blame to be shifted. Own what comes your way and make it your own and take responsibility for it. Number 2 is discipline. Doing what you need to do, especially when you don't feel like doing it. Men with an elite mindset, they don't live based off of feeling and emotion and the whim of their lives. They are disciplined. They do what they need to, even if they don't want to. Number 3 is integrity. This is an alignment between your values and your actions. Do your words match up with what you are actually doing? Words, actions, they need to align. That is integrity. Number 4 is mastery. This is a relentless pursuit of excellence in every area of life. You need to become fanatical about growing and learning and improving as much as you can. That's being elite. And the last one is number 5, which is purpose. You have to live for something beyond yourself. You are small, insignificant, and a tiny speck in the cosmos around you. You are not that important. You must be dedicated to living your life to serve a greater good. And in my case, that's the glory of God through Jesus Christ. And that is living with purpose, living for something beyond yourself. And those are the 5 pillars of an elite mindset: responsibility, discipline, integrity, mastery, and purpose. And those things are crucial to becoming ordinarily elite. Obviously, ordinary, elite, those 2 words, ordinarily and elite, they're paradoxical. But what we're talking about is more than just 2 opposites becoming one. We're talking about having humility, being born in an ordinary status and place and position in life, and excellence. Humility and excellence, ordinarily elite. That's what we're talking about. Men who are humble, who have humility because they know they were born in a low position in life. They're not the King of England. They're not the deposed Prince of Nigeria. They don't have billions of dollars at their fingertips. But what they have is grit and audacity, and they want to live a life full of elite performance and mindset. What is the cost of not becoming ordinarily elite in 2025 as a man in America? The cost is mediocrity. So let's break it down this way. I've heard this quote before and I love it. Life is hard no matter what. You can either do the hard thing now and then you are intentionally doing it, or you can take the easy path now and life just becomes hard later. If you don't work out now, your body decays and life becomes hard when you're obese and worn out. If you don't increase your income now by learning skills and taking risks, life is harder later whenever you're retired and you have less than $200,000 to your name and your kids are now responsible for taking care of you. Life is hard. It's either going to be hard now or hard later. And we at Ordinarily Elite, we're going to choose doing the hard things now for the sake of avoiding mediocrity and living our lives to our fullest potential. Remember, fear is not a guiding principle. It is a chain on your soul. So if you're not doing something because you're afraid of the outcome or of the risk or of rejection, then you're not living an elite life. You're not thinking in elite ways. You are thinking as someone who is a prisoner of their own mind, a prisoner of others' opinions. And you need to repent of that. We need to turn away from fear and live with a spirit of power that comes from God alone. That's the philosophy behind Ordinarily Elite, and we're going to continue to create episodes that are very philosophical, but we're going to try to end every episode with a practical section to help you grow and become the man that God created you to be in every area of your life. So the first thing you can do after listening to this episode is audit your standards. And this is going to be auditing them against the 5 pillars of the elite mindset like we talked about. You need to identify areas in your life, at least one, that you've accepted as average. Where in your life are you just living average? And you know this, but you aren't working to change it. That's the first thing. Write that down. And write it down. I would do this even once a week. Just one simple thing. Take 3 minutes, think about it, or even ask your spouse or a really strong brother, friend, say, what's one area in my life that seems like I've accepted as average? The second thing that you need to do is define your elite benchmarks. So again, go through the 5 pillars of the elite mindset and figure out what is your baseline. Where will you set up shop and not allow yourself to get below? This is called having standards. This is how discipline is built and made. We all have them, but this is making them explicit. Write them down so you know them, and then hold yourself to them. Even give them to somebody else and make them hold you accountable as well. This is a really great step in making sure you're actually living a disciplined life and becoming elite. This one's really important. Do one hard thing daily that you don't want to do. Wake up at 5 in the morning and do a cold shower. Go for a long sprinting session. Lift kettlebells. Go pump out a big workout at the gym. Write every morning. Pull out your journal and write for 30 minutes. These things are uncomfortable, they're hard work, and they are not what we want to do, but they will make you stronger. Even if it's just a cold shower. Just pick one thing and do it for a week straight, but ideally try to make a habit of it. Do it for 30 to 60 days. And make it something you don't want to do, but you know will benefit you in the long run. And another really important thing you can take away from this episode that you should act on as soon as you can is finding a brotherhood of men who are going to hold you to that elite standard, who also are striving to become elite in every area of their lives. They don't want to be mediocre, and they want you to not be either. They don't want to be fat and overweight. They want to be strong. They want to be skinny. They want their wives to actually be attracted to them. Find those men, invest in them, pour into them, and don't let arguments or fights, because if you find men like that, you're going to butt heads. Love each other. Leave all the arguments behind. Grow. You're going to butt heads. You guys are going to sharpen iron. Friction is what causes sharpness. We need to be remembering that. Find men who you are willing to get angry at and forgive, because you are causing friction with one another all the time. We're going to close this episode by reiterating why men must be elite in America in 2025. Well, one of the big things is young men have an opportunity right in front of them at every moment. The boomers are starting to retire and die off and sell businesses. The church in America is seeming to have a revitalization in small pockets. Men and women are coming to Christ in large numbers. The culture is turning away from woke Marxist ideologies in larger and larger amounts. There's no better way to put it than there's really no better way to put it than the fields are white for the harvest. Spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally. Being elite is much more attainable now than it ever has been. Men hold themselves to such low standards that if you can just wake up every morning at the same time, dedicate yourself to learning and reading and educating regularly, dedicate yourself to physically working out and eating a healthy diet regularly, consistently, these things will set you apart. You'll automatically be in the top 5% of men. And what this will provide you with opportunity in every area of life to grow and to really bless your family and your community. In the next episode, we're going to talk about what it means to be ordinarily elite. And we did a little bit today, but we want to get into the nitty-gritty of what it looks like to actually live an ordinarily elite life. Thank you for listening to this episode of Ordinarily Elite. Please subscribe or follow this podcast wherever you are listening, or on YouTube if you're watching us. We ask that you would leave us a 5-star review if you are gaining valuable information and you are getting value out of this podcast. It helps more men who are striving to be excellent like you to find us. Also, I encourage you to share it with one of your friends, another man who is not going to stay average for very long. Men, you were made for more. Now, it's time to live it out. Thank you for joining me. I'm Jeff Sterland. Be ordinarily elite.